Welcome back, everybody, to DFW Link, where we link you in with all entrepreneurs and small business owners. Today, we have another special guest. And just to let y'all know, y'all already know who's beside me Sacred Sauce.
Hey, 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 greetings.
Now, I'm going to let Sacred Sauce introduce this wonderful, spectacular guy. Go ahead and introduce him.
All right, so today we have someone who I work with closely, and I figured I had to get him on here. He goes by Seneca. How are you doing today?
I'm well. Peach, I got the voices like hitting today.
We're not like new to this. We kind of true to this, right?
Amen
Okay,
to that.
okay.
Amen to that. So let's kick this off. I mean, I see you, man. You look like you're in fantastic shape. First off.
Appreciate that. Peace.
Now I read a little bit about you. So basically, you're a fitness trainer, correct?
I have done fitness training. I used to do fitness training a lot more. Now, I've
Mm-hmm.
actually gotten too busy to personal train.
Wow.
But yeah, I was doing some personal training at Good Co-working, which is a co-working space in Deep Ellum. I was doing fitness, yoga, and mindfulness. And I still got like one or two clients that I train every once in a while as needed,
Mm-hmm.
but I kind of shifted from that a little while back.
Okay, so you're more focused on the spiritual side.
I would say personal development using art and creativity to teach is my vision going into next year. I do have an LLC and a nonprofit, and I'm also in sales, like as a 9 to 5. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, spiritual. I'm a facilitator at the Dallas Meditation Center in Richardson. So yeah, there's various things that I do.
Okay. Okay.
So, going into your personal development or self development aspect, how did that aspect come about? Was it something you've always been working on throughout your life, or was there a pivotal moment that inspired you to take that turn?
Into personal development.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just hopping right into it. Age of 19, I went to federal prison. I did 3 years, and it was in federal prison that I was introduced to mindfulness, yoga, meditation, and that was taught to me. And I gravitated towards it because I was always into Eastern philosophy, right? So that was dope. And I experienced that. I went home and pretty much forgot about it, honestly, and got a job, and that didn't really work out, and started back hustling again, and went back to prison, at which time I was given 25 years and indicted as a ringleader. So when I went and did my bid the second time is when I really began to sink my teeth into personal development, because obviously this lifestyle wasn't working, right? And it was at that time where things began to really deep dive into that direction for me.
Very interesting. Interesting. I'm pretty sure you had a lot of time to like rethink your life while you was in there.
I did.
So can you tell people about that experience though? Like, was it like? I mean, of course. I mean, we already know it's a hard experience, a tough experience. But just from your eyes, can you give us like a visual of that experience and what was like a little thing that actually pushed you to go that route?
Yeah. So I have a lot of formulas that I use, and one of them is something called P4: prison, promise, purpose, position. Right. And I believe that the world operates on formulas, mathematical equations, formulas, recipes, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's our job to get into alignment with different formulas. So I've created several for myself. So the prison, promise, purpose, position for me, which is P4, my prison actually started before I went to prison. And I tell people one of the biggest prisons that we have is identity crisis, right? And then it's whatever identity that we have that may not be serving us as a byproduct produces many of the physical prisons that we go through, whether that be incarceration, debt, weight, bad relationships, etc. So whatever identity that you have is really your actual prison,
Mm-hmm.
and then everything else is a manifestation of that. So my prison came essentially from having a bad mentor. When I was at the age of about 17, there was someone that I respected and taught me the game, organized crime, theft, things of that nature. and I gravitated towards that. Now, this is the person that I still very much respect. I mean, I love this guy. He still is a mentor to me to this day. I tell people I have if you heard of the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, I got a working dad and a hustling dad, So that was the beginning of my prison, because I began to gravitate towards someone who had a lot of influence over me and taught me a lot of good stuff. Also taught me work ethic, taught me integrity, taught me character, but also wrapped up in a life of crime. And I took on that identity because I didn't know who I was. And if you don't know, and I'm speaking about prisons, but not the physical one. Right. But if you don't know who you are, you will allow outside factors to dictate who you are. And that's where the clash starts. And many people fall victim to that. So that was me. And since I didn't know, I began to put on masks. And these masks and these identities began to serve, because we don't do anything that doesn't bring us value. So it began to serve me in an immediate standpoint. And, I became a person that got money, chased females. This is who I am. This is what I do. So that was my prison, honestly. And though you would never know looking at me that I was in this internal war and conflict, that's what was going on, as we see a lot of times today. So to answer your question as far as what was the thing, whenever the second time I went to prison, I went on a run to Austin, Texas. And my girlfriend had been arrested at the time, and she was actually the catalyst that caused me to change my life. Had it not been for her, I probably would not have changed my direction, because it was the first time I seen how my actions affected other people. Before I was 19, it was all on me. But this time I had a girlfriend, she had a daughter, I had responsibility. And she got wrapped up into my illegal dealings. And she also went to prison. And she was green, never been in trouble day in her life. So as a man, seeing how that affected her caused me to look at myself. So I went on a run. A lot of stuff happened when I was in Austin. And I was pretty much down and out, right? And I remember going to my bedroom and counting a trash bag full of money. And for the first time in my life, it just felt like pieces of paper. And that had never happened to me before. And can we cuss on here? I don't know.
Well, we try not to.
Okay, cool.
So everybody can listen,
So it scared me. It scared me, right? Because I had never felt that before. I didn't realize that I was addicted to money. That's where I got my identity from. And it was in these moments where I started to really, really look at myself and look at myself in the mirror and see that I had to do something different.
Wow, that's crazy. I am so glad you actually put it into those terms, because that's a true statement. And a lot of people don't see that it's not the prison system that's really putting us down only. It's actually before we even get to that level.
Mindset.
And it's crazy you say you had a mentor. I remember a story from DMX on how he actually got stuck on drugs. It was somebody he looked up to, he admired, and he laced his blunt. And that's he's been stuck on it ever since. It's like a lot of times, like you said, we don't know who we are. It's like we can't stop certain things from happening because we're blinded. We don't understand what's actually going on. We still haven't lived life, or we don't have the mentor, like you said, that can lead us the right way. And there's so many people out there, especially in the hood. In the hood is so many traps. You don't know where to go. You're a kid. You see this guy over here with money. It's like, oh, I want to be that guy, So I see what he's doing, so I'm going to do what he's doing. And it's just an endless trend. Yeah. And it goes back to the video I just recently watched when you was talking about Charleston White. I used to think I just heard things about him. I'm like, oh, it's another ignorant dude. But I actually sat down and listened to the dude recently. He was talking about Romeo. And I was like, man, this dude got a head on his shoulder.
Yeah, a lot of people know about Charleston White. A lot of people don't know about Charleston White. Of course, he's very controversial. And I started actually studying him, man, because I ran across one of his videos, and some of the things that he was saying in context and in spirit is some of the things that I've been saying for years. I mean, you can go find a lot of dudes I was locked up with, and I've been saying the same types of things. Now, Charleston White has kind of come on and really put his, foot on hip-hop's neck, in a way that's very interesting. And black people, anybody, is not accustomed to putting a mirror in their face if it's a sensitive point for them, because their identity is tied to it. So it's not really about rap or culture, it's about my identity. And I mean, goodness, if we want to deep dive Charleston White, that's like a whole another 3-4 episodes.
It's about you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I was saying that to say, because I need to digress, because if I open that up, then we gonna be talking for hours. But yeah, he's a very interesting character. I see why people don't like him, and I see why people say what they say about him. At the same time, I honestly believe that Charleston White is needed right now, and I honestly believe there's a lot of people who are hungry and thirsty for the message. And the thing about Charleston White, though, is though he may be what he's going to be, his biggest effect is going to be and voices like him, because I've spoke to a lot of community leaders behind closed doors, one-on-one. I mean, dudes in Dallas who are really doing the work, like real live dudes. And behind closed doors, we're all saying the same types of thing that Charleston White has said, but in the public, it's a little bit more difficult to say that. But not getting into that, I'll end with this. People like Charleston White and messages like that are the most powerful, because it's going to inspire an 8 or 9 or 10-year-old right now who looks up and say, it is kind of dumb for us to be running around talking about killing niggas and this and this and this and this and this. Like that is kind of not smart, and we are, shooting ourselves in the foot with that. So it's going to be that inspiration, I think, that has the biggest impact.
Well, just seeing you just react off that video, it just told me a lot about yourself and how open your eyes are to the community and what's going on. So, I really respect you off that. Cool. We need a lot more people out here that's actually, voicing their opinions on what's going on. And we appreciate you for that.
Absolutely. I wanted to go ahead and just speak on the fact that, how you brought up, there's a lot of us saying the same things, but the delivery is different. And there are a good amount of vocalists, I'll say. I don't like to use the word influencers, although we are all influencers, influencers of each other. We are reflections of each other. Influencer kind of gives it that superiority kind of term to it. But there are people out there who have a lot of important things to say in the way that they are saying it, like Charleston White. And a lot of times people want to talk about the delivery, but it's not always about what you say, it's how you say it and how you deliver the message. So I think it's important that when you deliver the message as you do, it's not just you're saying something, it's the full story behind it without having to say so much. You get what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So I just wanted to touch on that before we go on a commercial break. And when we come back, we'll talk about how you utilize your voice and your message to reach everyone of different age groups and diasporas.
So stay tuned, y'all.
Status, I'm a big dog vet. I pull up on the block in a big Corvette. Yeah, ride around the city with a stick all black.
Yes, we are back. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to DFW Link, where we link you in with all entrepreneurs and business owners. I gotta stop saying small business owners because we are all equal, to be honest with you. I might not make as much money as that other business, but we're all equal. But anyway, we're still here in this, inspiring interview. Man, we were just off camera. We were having a deep conversation, man. I had to cut it off because it was something that we know somebody out there needs to hear. Okay, so Sacred Sauce. So what were you telling us about? You were raised by a father, right? A single father household, right?
Yes. My father took the majority of the time with me. He raised me. Now, I'm not going to say I didn't have influence from other people and family members and my mother and my grandparents and things like that, but solely as far as teaching me the morals and how to operate was my father. And that was for, just him and I for a good 20 years.
Now we have to get your response. You got to continue with your response, bro, man. It was deep. It was
Yeah. Well, we was just chopping it up, and I don't know how it segued into family. We were talking about identity, I believe, and I heard Sacred Sauce, who I've been knowing for a little while. She said that she was raised in a single-parent home by her father, in which I didn't know that, and I thought that was interesting. And the reason I felt it was interesting is because she carries herself well. She has a certain demeanor about herself, and I had been in a conversation with my cousin actually just the other day talking about this. And we were talking about the actual numbers and data. So two-parent households in general produce the most healthy child in society, right? Single-parent household, when a male is the father, is a close second, and anybody can research this information. Single parent mother in the household is a distant third. And the reason that I believe that the numbers are in that way, and again, shout out to my cousin Chuck, because he really opened my eyes to this. And there were many things that we were discussing about this, is that the male masculine energy is the character builder from the standpoint of structure and order. It's how we are designed. It's our biological makeup. So the father comes home, and it's there's a more disciplinary that goes into effect than with the female energy. The mother is very, very important, as we know. But we also in addition to that, we also know that if we look at, there's a chemical called oxytocin. Oxytocin is a chemical that's released at 3 major times in a woman's life. When she gives birth, and it's a bonding chemical. When she breastfeeds, and when she has sex. And if we look at the correlation of these 3 things, they're all sexual or childbirthing in nature. Because at the essence of a woman, from a biological standpoint, one of her greatest assets to humankind is to give life. And there's a connection she has with that baby. And we can look at a woman with her child and the connection that she has, a man, it's hard to duplicate that, right? And that just is what it is. However, in a man, we were biologically, just like the woman, when the baby skins the knee, oh baby, come here, want to cuddle, want to keep the baby protected, want to keep the baby comfortable, want to keep the baby at bay. And that's beautiful and that's needed. But that is not the core principles that helps the baby to become successful in life, because comfort and safety is actually counterproductive to an abundant child. But it's needed, right? So the masculine energy is the opposite, though these things come together in harmony. The masculine energy says, I'm going to go out and produce and protect and provide. And in order for me to do that as a man, I must have focus, I have to have discipline, I have to have structure. So these are the things that we give to our offspring. So this is the reason why the numbers show that the child in a single parent male home is more quote unquote successful or productive, because our very nature grooms and structures that, right? So people have different opinions about various things, but we're talking about biology right now. And it's not a this or that or disagree or to say one is better than the other. This is how our Creator designed us.
Absolutely. B. Riley's over here just lean back like profound.
I mean, it's like he said. I mean, we all speak the same. We might say it a little different, but we all speak the same things. I mean, I've been saying this for a while now, and you just backed up what I said.
Basically. And like you stated, just to reiterate, it's important for both of those aspects to be present, but they all have they both have their own purpose. And the sooner you acknowledge that and appreciate that, I feel as though the more productive, again, you can be, and just in finding or coming to terms with your identity. Just looking back on your history as far as how you were raised and what your support system looks like, because that contributes to where you are today. And on that note, would you say that your support system throughout your life contributed to where you are today?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think consciously or unconsciously, all of our support systems and or environment shapes who we are. Mine definitely did, and I can look back in my life and see various people who were mentors to me and how that has shaped and molded who I am today. So especially spending so many years incarcerated, which has been a total, I think, like 12, support systems become very important.
I can imagine, I haven't had that lifestyle, but I do know people who are close to me, and it looks different over time, especially when you spend extended periods of time incarcerated. Was there any moment that you felt like you needed something a little bit more, like maybe faith or something stronger than the physical support system that you have from maybe mom or dad?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. With all of the physical supports that a person may have, with all the physical supports that I may have, I came to a point where you will hit a wall, and there's just so far you can go in the physical, and you have to tap into something deeper and greater than yourself, for sure. And really the tapping into is a submission and surrendering of the ego, the will, the identity, so that you can more clearly see how you can operate in alignment with that particular thing, and allow yourself to be a vessel and to be poured through. And whenever you begin to tap more into your spiritual side, in my opinion, you do begin to see how both masculine and feminine energy are very useful. And we can see those things exterior, but those things are also duplicated inside of ourselves as well. So the closer that I am able, being a masculine man, to tap into, first see the value. And this is one thing I teach my son. I give him the characteristics of both masculine and feminine energy. And I also let him know that we live in a society that sometimes sweeps feminine energy, the power of feminine energy, under the rug because it's not monetary. But I explained to him that these things are very, very important, and you need to respect the feminine energy, and this will help you respect a woman. And I display those things to him by telling him those same attributes are inside of yourself. So the more that I was able to soften my heart, be more compassionate and listen, so forth, have more humility, quote unquote, feminine qualities or feminine energy qualities, the more you become godly. Because as we know, godly is neither male or female, according to my opinion. And the same thing is done with the feminine energy when she can tap more into a masculine. So when you talk about leaning onto something greater than yourself and becoming more godlike, not a god, but godlike or godly, it's being able to harmonize those two things. And it just makes you so much more effective, to the point where I'm able to have more conviction, because this goes back still to identity. And I can speak up when I need to speak up, and I can be quiet and listen when I need to be quiet. And there's a certain confidence that comes with that, where you're no longer in competition with people as much. And don't mistake it, like sometimes I slip and fall like everybody else. There's no pinnacle. But in general, the submission to something greater than myself to see who I truly am.
And we're all human. So I totally understand it, man.
That is true. I have a question regarding, just your enlightenment journey. From my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but you began your journey of enlightenment in its depth, or the beginning of it at some point while you were still incarcerated. Correct?
Correct.
In my experience, when you're on that journey, there's levels to it. You get to that point where you're aware, and you're aware within yourself. And then you move on to, now I have to express that to everyone I know and start educating them and giving them insight on what I'm learning, and, opening or lifting the veil over their eyes. What was that like, going through your journey of enlightenment while being incarcerated? Because I know that sometimes living with conviction, sometimes you're able to influence the people around you. But was that the case for you? Or was it harder for you to, still be on your journey while around other people going through theirs?
That's a good question. But my experience in that was I needed it. Like I needed it. It was my freedom. So whenever you need something to the degree that I was able to tap into it, it becomes less burdensome to worry about what they think about it, or who's listening or who's not listening, because this is for me, And when I say it's for me, it's also for other people, but the seed of it is my freedom. So it enabled me to navigate through my prison experience essentially free, right? So because of that, I think I was able to operate and display it in a way where, I did have a decent amount of respect in prison. There was a lot of people that respected me because of how I carried myself, things I did. I was pretty consistent. But there was no, I'm trying to be the toughest guy around and all that kind of stuff. I stayed out of the way of all of that. But there was a good deal of respect that I got in prison.
I think it's crazy how they try to advertise and make it seem like you have to act like you're the toughest guy, and that's being incarcerated and just being out, just living your life. It's, you don't have to look at somebody with this mean look. You don't have to come in somebody's home and not speak to them and, just put on this tough guy persona. It's not like that. You can really be respectful, and people respect you for that.
Yeah, well, it's not just in the black community, it's in a lot of communities, but we are probably more so speaking about the black community now. And, we were raised in a time, and even young people are raised in a time now where you're being friendly. If you go up to another man, especially a black man, at a party or an event, and just simply reach your hand out and say, hey man, my name is Seneca, what's your name, what you got going on? This is friendly, this is looked down upon. And if this mindset is friendly, then when you talk about networking as an adult, which is essential, then we are robbing ourselves. But yeah, I do agree. It is something that has been put into our culture. But I believe people are wanting something different. As a matter of fact, even the person because I didn't talk to these dudes in cells on lockdown. The dude just tatted up and this and this and this, and not around their homeboys, in a different environment, a different setup, and a different scenery. Some of these same men are confessing and saying things of vulnerability and pain and insecurity, just like some white chick maybe would, right? So we've been deceived, man, but it's cool because I do believe in love, and I do believe that people really are thirsty for it, and it's all in God's timing for when that'll happen for each person.
I figure on that. I'm gonna close it out with this one. I totally agree with you on not just being in the black community. I brought it up to this young man one time. He was saying he was describing when he went to a predominantly white neighborhood. He was like, everybody was looking at me all weird, and just me mugging me. That's why I don't like white people. I'm like, I brought up a good fact. I was like, okay, so you mean to tell me when you go to another hood, they don't sit there and mean mug you and look at you crazy like you don't belong here.
Yeah.
It's funny how we don't acknowledge that, but we quick to acknowledge the white person sitting here, me mugging it, stuff like that. I grew up in Oak Cliff and ended up going to Arlington, and that's when I opened my eyes. I was surrounded around by different ethnicities. So I got to see the white person, that's cool, the Asian person that's cool. We had a lot of similarities, and people don't acknowledge that. We're always talking about the differences. It's sad, but we're gonna be similar and worry about our bills right now and go to a commercial break. Stay tuned, and we got a lot more questions to come in this third segment, and we'll be right back.
And we are. And we are back. Thank you all for your patience. So, this next segment, we're going to be getting into pretty much the depth of what it is that you do and how you give back, how you contribute to the community. Now, you said earlier on at the beginning that mainly you focus on, well, now anyway, personal and self-development, self-growth. Did you in any way take that, what you have now, back to the prison system and maybe incorporate that in conversations that you've had with inmates and things like that?
You mean since I've been home or when I was incarcerated?
Since you've been home.
No, I haven't been back inside since I've been home. That is something that I do want to do. I plan on doing. It just hadn't got into my bandwidth yet. But definitely, for sure, I'm working towards that. As far as the things that I'm doing now, I had to scale down. I tell people my hero is Willy Wonka, so I got like too many ideas going through my head. So in anything with business, you got to scale down. So right now we have a health bar that's going to be released next year called Khmer Bars. The name of my company and nonprofit is Khmer, K-M-I-R, Keep Me in Remembrance. And we have a health bar coming out that's dope. And I'm also working on these meditations. It's called resistance meditation. And basically resistance meditation is a concept that I created when I was incarcerated, where I went out to the day room to meditate and it was quiet, and then like child time happened or something. A lot of people came in and there was a lot of noise, and this noise was beginning to distract me, and I wanted to leave, but instead of leaving, I sat there and I listened through it, and I actually worked through it. And I tell people it's synonymous to doing calisthenics like push-ups and pull-ups and lifting weight. So I've created a way to duplicate this experience in the studio, and we're going to be dropping those sometime this year as well.
Okay. So you haven't taken it back to the prison systems, but is there any other way that you've contributed as far as the concept of self-development, maybe in community activities or partnering with any organizations outside of your own? For sure.
My nonprofit has done some workshops with some youth at Good Co-working, where we do fitness, mindfulness, and personal development. I've spoke at countless of workshops and other nonprofits and events to various organizations about personal development concepts using mindfulness. I'll be on a webinar in a couple of days. I'm doing a mindfulness training with someone that has a real estate agency. So yeah, I definitely do a lot as it relates to like speaking and events, yoga, and I also use art and storytelling. You and I got a show coming up soon where we're going to be using art as a workshop to help people get back into alignment with themselves. So I'm always doing something.
Now that's a fact. This man is always doing something. And I just want to touch on those Khmer bars. Those are bussing. Those are bussing. Every time he's like, try them and let me think. Tell me what you think. I'm like, same thing as last time. They hidden. When they coming out?
Yeah.
Now, how are you advertising your bars?
Man, right now it's grassroots, so we got a show coming up January the 21st, so I have some bars available there. But right now it's just been a lot of beta testing. I've just been doing taste tests, letting people try them, getting testimonials, working on the actual ingredients. So it's been a while just working on that. And now that we have a solidified bar, we're going to move into putting them into some coffee shops, and just really starting an Instagram account and just going person to person. Now, thankfully, I have some mentors who are working with me about some whole food connections down the road, but we got to get more of a proof of a concept first.
Right. So, and you say you was working on the recipe basically right now. So, is it just you personally, or do you have like a third party company that's working on this for you?
So this idea came from me and my business partner wanting to do something healthy. So he always wanted to do microgreens. Microgreens is a superfood that a lot of people eat. And in some areas, people actually have microgreens delivered to their home. Well, we were going to do that, but I didn't want to worry about delivery, and they have a short shelf life. And I was like, I don't really want to be fooling with that. So I did some research on it and seen that you can actually dehydrate microgreens where they keep their same nutritional value. So from there, I was like, we should make like a candy bar, a health bar. So I reached out to a few bakers and chefs that I knew, and one dude was live, man. His name is Travis. He owns a black dude. He owns a bakery out by like White Rock Lake area. Dallas Affairs, shout out to Travis at Dallas Affairs. And he came up with a live recipe, man, based on what I told him. And we've been going back and forth with taste tests, and we finally got a product.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really amazing, man. Hey, that's too amazing. I forgot what I was going to say.
He's like, food? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's one thing that I did want to say. I did see a note on one of your videos, and I do commend you. It said that you don't have any soy in it either.
Yeah, so no soy. It's not vegan. The only reason that it's not vegan is that because there's honey in it, but no artificial sweetener, no artificial flavor, no soy, gluten-free, and it's actually healthy for you, man, and kids love them. We've really been blessed to really get a dope product, and people say the same thing almost every single time. This does not taste like a health bar.
Right.
So we really got something with this one.
It's as healthy and raw and tasty as you can get,
Really?
in my opinion.
Yeah,
as
it's
far as
live,
getting everything
man.
you need and still being flavorful. Yeah.
Y'all got to get this patent. Okay. ASAP. If you have it.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't moved into that yet. But yeah, that's something to think about for sure.
Absolutely. Now, for your speaking opportunities that you've had, now I am aware of the most recent one you've participated in, the Great American Speak Off. Can you tell us a little bit about what that experience was like? I mean, because when you told us, I was like, what? That's an amazing experience if y'all don't know what that is. But what was your experience like?
Great American Speak Off is Grant Cardone. If you don't know who Grant Cardone is, go research him. He's like a billionaire. He's behind it. Pete Vargas is his business partner, and he had a vision to create an American Idol for speakers. So they went around the country. They auditioned about 1,900 people. They came to Dallas. There was 500 people that auditioned, and they gave out like 30 golden tickets for each city and state. And I was one of the people that got a golden ticket. They took 150 finalists to Miami, and I was one of the 150. The first day was 5 rounds of speaking, and they chopped it down from 150 to 30. And they announced the 30 the next day. I was in the top 30. Grant Cardone came. He was one of the judges. Grant Cardone, his wife, this lady named Stormy something, and then Pete Vargas. And they had the top 10 after that, and I made it to the top 10. Actually, it was 12. They let 12 in. But I was the top 12, man. And they took 3 to go to Vegas to speak on Grant Cardone's stage, which is in February. And I didn't make the top 3. But that's cool. I got far. I learned a lot. It was a dope experience. And, man, so many live people that was there. And I left that a better speaker because of the competition. And as we was talking off air when I was speaking with her, what rooms are you in? I'm so glad I took the chance and took that opportunity because when you're around certain people with certain mindsets, it begins to grow inside of you, so it was wonderful. I got like, I'm going to be on like 2 or 3 podcasts just based off of that experience right there.
Oh, we got them first, right?
Yeah, y'all got me first.
I just wanted
Y'all
to
got
have
me
that
first.
on air, on record.
Yeah, y'all got me first for sure.
Got them first on DFW Linked.
So, about our show we have coming up, I really want you to add the emphasis on the importance of it, because this is not only a show. I don't even want to call it that. It's an all around self development experience, as we're presenting it to be. This is the second, so it's the sequel to the first show we did, which was amazing. And so this one is going to be a little different. What do you have to add?
Yeah, so the name of the show is The Greatest Love Story Ever Told, the story of finding and falling in love with you. And I like that title because it's very artistic and kind of whimsical, but it's also very concrete and grounded, which is what the show is. So we mix art, dance, storytelling, and music into a workshop experience. So you're getting the same type of content you would get in a workshop, but it's wrapped around entertainment, if you will. And the idea is to basically immerse you in this experience where you forget that you're actually in a workshop. You actually leave a better human while also being inspired and entertained. And that's essentially what we've created. She's one of the dancers. We have a choreographer, which is Tiaja. We got Monty G is going to be a singer. And we got some background singers to add more volume and depth to the show. And it's live, man. I have to admit, I was very proud to see what we created and the response that we got. Consecutively, people were saying, I never experienced personal development like this. And that's my goal, is to redefine personal development. So that's the premise of the show.
Y'all still selling tickets, right?
We are still selling tickets, man. So you can get the tickets on Eventbrite. I'm really not too huge on social media. However, you can go to my Facebook, Seneca Kamir Alma, and there's going to be a post somewhere where you can download the tickets, or you can go to CSL, Center for Spiritual Living, where we'll be hosting the event, and purchase tickets. They are $30, and it's January the 21st. Doors open at 3:30. The show starts at 4 on the dot. Yeah.
You can also go to his Instagram as well. I've seen it in the bio.
Okay. Yeah. There you go.
Gotcha.
See, look, I don't even.
I didn't even remember put it there.
I don't even put it yet. But we have different people, helping promote it and stuff. And I really do see this as something that can continue to grow. The concept.
And we'll definitely tag and attach the link to where we can purchase tickets and see any upcoming events that you have going on. I want to talk about your documentary as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's okay for us to talk about it. You green lighted it now. I know a couple weeks ago we were doing some background work. Mm-hmm. But what is the experience like creating a documentary? Is this your first time?
Yeah, it's my first time, and I'm actually following the same premise as the show, which is going to be using art, dance, and so forth, and QR codes. The documentary is actually going to be a curriculum that people are going to go and journey through my life, but also teach them something. So it's called Radical Ownership, New Narrative, and we're working on it. We're in the thick of it.
In the thick of it. All right now. Well, I think we've gathered a good amount of information as of now. We're going to go ahead and take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to wrap it up, make it all make sense, full 360, and give you some more important information.
So stay tuned.
Catch me ballin' like a Mike J. Need $100,000, I told them more, walk away. On it with me and they shooters like they in the paint.
Welcome back. And I'm not Mace. How are y'all? I hope y'all have been enjoying this interview so far, man. This has been a very inspirational interview so far. This last segment, we're gonna close it out. So I have a question. What was one of your most valuable things you can take from your Miami experience?
Cool. So whenever we made it to the top 30, we're in this big auditorium, and mind you, the stage is like American Idol, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they got the top 30 speakers walking around, going over their lines, getting ready. And when I walked into the room, I'm looking at a lot of the speakers, and it dawned on me that I really got a shot to win this thing, because I've seen some of the speakers speak, and I'm like, I'm definitely in the runnings. I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm going over my lines, I got my AirPods in, and I'm walking around, and I see the front of the stage, and I had a moment, like something hit me, and I actually shed some tears, right? Mm-hmm. And the last time I shed tears, I didn't talk about this, but my girlfriend, who was incarcerated, her daughter committed suicide when I was in prison, and that was a big moment for me, right? And I don't think I've cried since then. And when I seen this stage and I seen this moment, like I actually had a moment. So I went over to the side, and the reason I had this moment was because, I had been praying to God to help me in some areas of my life and my discipline as it relates to like relationships and so forth and so on. Just increase my discipline so I can be like, just like a better man. And this moment was like encouragement, because I was able to see all this opportunity and potentially be going to Vegas to speak. It was like God was showing me like, this is what is capable for you. And it was like a motivation to be more disciplined in other areas of my life, if that makes sense. And that hit me harder than going to Vegas, because I've been like struggling. I mean, man, look, I've been struggling. So I have that moment, and I'm actually crying to myself. And the stage lady come over and tap me on the shoulder. She was like, "Say, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, you're next." So I get myself together, I get up, and I'm about to go into the back area where Grant Cardone, his wife, and the different judges are at. And I walk in the room, and they ask me, "How are you doing?" And I was like, "Man, I'm so glad that you asked me that, because I literally just had a moment." And I explained to them what that moment was. And I told Pete Vargas, and I said, "Pete, I really just want to thank you for following your passion and dream with this, because like your dream is helping people become better people beyond just getting on the stage." And when I got done, I did my talk and audition. I nailed it. I killed it. Mm-hmm. It was dope. And they all agreed. But Grant Cardone was like, "I don't want him on my stage." He's like, "I don't want him on my stage." And they all looking at him like, "Dude, like, are you serious? Like, this dude is like nice. He's good." He's like, "I don't want him on my stage." He said, "I don't want him on my stage because I can't have him." He said, "I spent like millions of dollars on this Growth X Con." Now, I don't want to throw shade on Grant Cardone. I respect him as a business person, but I'm just telling you what happened to me, like real life. And I respect his mind. I respect his hustle. So that is what it is. So he was like, "I can't have somebody driving to Vegas about to speak on my stage, and they have an epiphany and go on my stage and like have this moment." He was like, "That's not for my audience. Like, this is a business." Because Grant Cardone is square business, cutthroat, like for real. And he really cussed me out. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and he does that. So as soon as he say that, like the judges just go into this dog fight, and they start fighting for me. And at the end of the day, they outvoted them. So Grant Cardone like kind of, say some stuff to me. And I'm skipping some stuff. But I end up leaving. But I left kind of like in turmoil with that, right? Because in my heart, I felt he was wrong, but he also is a billionaire. So we skipping some things. And that's what happened. Well, ironically, I'm down there with a Mexican dude from Dallas who's also been the Great American Speak Off, and we end up just, hanging out, kicking it. And the next day we go to the mall in Miami because his mentor just so happened to be down there. So we met this Mexican dude's mentor, which is a black dude from Atlanta. So we at this sports bar and talking to this guy, and come to find out, man, I don't want to give too much with this. But come to find out, he is kind of like in some circles around there. So he's like, hey, man, you know, I heard you was in the finals. Like, what happened? And I tell him. And he basically tell me, based off of what you told me, you were just expressing a deep level of gratitude, like from your heart. And he said that if that message isn't for Grant Cardone, or if that message isn't for Grant Cardone's stage, then that's not your stage. He said, don't ever jeopardize or lower that type of authenticity in any type of setting. Don't change who you are. And the reason that was so valuable for me, because I was actually questioning myself, and I don't do that much. But that was a lot of pressure. But I was questioning myself and my authenticity, because that's what I live by, is vulnerability and authenticity and being a servant leader. And when he said that at the sports bar, it just reaffirmed something that I knew. And I want to share this story with people, because as people who are marginalized, women, men, whoever it may be, whether it be a boss at work, whether it be something like Great American Speak Off, whether it be a boyfriend or girlfriend, anybody that has quote unquote status, people will consciously and subconsciously use their power for their own independent gain. And sometimes it might not even be quote unquote bad, but it's in their best interest. So I want to speak to people just as a motivation to say, maybe that's not your stage. And that's perfectly okay. Find out who you are and stay true to that identity and do your thing, even if it's Grant Cardone or a boss at an automotive shop. You know what I'm saying? Stay true to yourself. So I just wanted to share that. That was the greatest lesson that I learned coming out of that, for sure.
And that's a great message to everybody out there, really. And that's a great way to close out this segment.
Absolutely.
And we just want to sit here and say we thank you for coming up here and taking the time out to actually talk to us and talk to everybody else that's going to tune in and actually listen to this podcast. We've learned a lot of interesting things, and we just want to say, keep going. Keep doing you. Don't let nobody change you. And even you, Sacred Sauce. And even me.
All of us, and even y'all listening.
For sure.
Yes. Keep your identity. And keep your identity and listen.
Don't lose who you are through listening to other stuff.
Exactly. All that drama queen stuff. No, we're talking real talk on this podcast. But anywho, we want to wish everybody a happy holidays. And take care of yourselves.
Absolutely. And again, you can find Seneca on what platforms again?
So you can go to Facebook, Seneca Kamir Alma is the name with that, or the Kamir Experience on Facebook and or Instagram. Still building all that stuff up, man. I need to hire me somebody, but we're going to get there. But yeah, you can reach out to me on social media, or you can go to kamir.life, which is my website. Or you can go to hello@kamir.life, which is my email address.
Perfect. Y'all hear that? So y'all stay communicating with him, okay? And until then, y'all know the saying. Peace.
And hair grease.